booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you. Thank you, Tatyana, for your time. I appreciate it. You look gorgeous.
Thank you. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. And very excited for you guys for season 2 and for Mrs. Hughes. We all need a Mrs. Hughes as Black students. I went to a high school, a Bel-Air prep, a Bel-Air type of high school. And that was my experience where I didn't have a teacher who was willing to share stories with me about my history, my lineage. And so it's been very exciting to see you in this role. When you look at what she means to Ashley and their relationship, what do you think, your just personal opinion, is the hardest thing about being a Black teacher in an environment like that and wanting to motivate students that look like you?
I think the hardest thing, which I think, Mrs. Hughes comes up against is the curriculum that she's forced to teach, or versions of history. You hit on so much. I loved the fact that, here she sees this bright Black girl and wants to inspire her, wants to nurture that brilliance. And they're really, you're really depriving students when you don't give them stories that reflect themselves, don't give them their own histories to understand and to make sense of in whatever the general cultural history is. And it is teachers like Mrs. Hughes who sometimes go against, what the administration says is right. Now in our country, what state government says is right, reach into their own libraries, Black radicals, Black feminists, and hands her books from her own personal library. That's what Mrs. Hughes does with Ashley. And I've had teachers like that in my life. James Avery, who played Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince, was such a mentor to me, gave me books of Nikki Giovanni and introduced me to artists that I never learned about in school, and that helped me understand myself in such incredible ways. So I thought the storyline was so wonderful, and I felt really honored to be able to play her.
Mm-hmm. It's a real thing. Black art is under siege in schools and education and just history in general. So there are going to be some fabulous conversations, because I can't think of a show that's tackled it in the way that you guys will this season.
Yes.
And it's really, really brilliant. When you would film those episodes, did you kind of think about or reflect on the day of how this will affect the greater audience? Because the audience is very diverse, and a lot of young people are not going to be really keenly aware of it if they're not per se in a Black household or a very enlightened household.
I absolutely was aware of that. I do a lot of work actually with Scholastic, with a collection of books called Rising Voices, and I'm a mentor for that book collection. It features Black and brown boys in one edition of Rising Voices. In the second collection, it's Black and brown girls in STEM, and really tries to bring into the classroom works of literature from grades K through 5 that are representative, of the children that are in that classroom or are not in that classroom, so that teachers and students have to engage with multicultural characters, independent of what their interests are. And I hope that seeing, we tell stories. So I hope seeing that what is such a precious relationship between a teacher and a student, a mentor and a mentee, to see what it means to have that relationship be censored, how much it hurts and how wrong it feels. I hope that does resonate with people. And I was aware of that very much while we were shooting it.
Awesome. And lastly, after season 1 now into season 2, Bel-Air is now starting to, grow into its own thing. It's still remaining true to the essence of Fresh Prince and the characters that we love, but it's growing into its own thing. What do you think what are you most impressed by now heading into season 2, now that because you've had the whole lineage from the beginning, from the root. So what are you most proud of with this season 2?
I'm proud of the roots that they've chosen to continue to nourish. The one of the most powerful and culturally sustaining parts of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is that, yes, we were making people laugh. It was funny, but we were talking about things that were really happening in the culture, what this Black family really was experiencing. And that's why it lasts, that's why it's still funny, unfortunately, for some topics. But they're really staying true to that. And at the same time, they're growing branches of their own. I love that they're exploring sexuality with Akira's character, with Ashley Banks. I love that. I love all the places that the characters are going. I think they really made it their own the first season alone. So, and I've always thought, like, it's not really a reboot. It really is. It's its own show.
For sure.
With incredibly talented people. So I'm excited to have everybody hear what everybody thinks of this new season, because I wasn't a part of the first season at all, but I was looking to see what people thought, and people loved it. And I hope people love it enough that they get a third and a fourth, and then it continues to last.
Amen. Well, I thank you for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful season. There's going to be some fantastic conversations that come from Mrs. Hughes and Ashley, and that's what I'm very excited to see. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Nice to talk to you. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jabari, for your time. It is such a pleasure to speak with you. Congratulations on season 2.
Thank you so much. So because I'm speaking with Black girl nerds, I have to put my glasses on.
Right. Come on now. Swaggy. We love it.
All right, here we go. All right. Now I feel equipped.
I am so impressed by you, because it's a big shoes to fill, a series from its origins. And now we're into season 2, and we really get to see the focus come in and further character development and a little bit more freedom for you to make your own choices while still staying informed by the original character. Is there freedom in that for you, being able to put more of yourself into it to distinguish the role and really make it your own?
Oh yeah, that's like the ultimate freedom. Like as an actor, like, I feel like we've established something that's amazing and that people genuinely love. And so for this season, I'm really excited to ruin that. And just ruin all of their expectations of what they think this character is. No, I'm joking. No, there's not. No, I'm excited to paint this picture in a different way. And to show different layers of the Will character. And so I think we established that in season 1, but season 2, we're going even deeper. So that's exciting.
As we deepen our relationship with Will, it's not always going to be happy. It's not going to be, overwrought with sadness or whatever. What do you think of when you reflect on your journey in season 1 and now heading into season 2? What do you think you learned the most about portraying this character that's going to help you be better in season 2?
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm constantly challenging myself, of do I understand who Will is? Jabari, the actor. Do I understand who Will is, or am I just like taking what was from the original and then kind of like bringing it back? And so I'm constantly asking myself those questions of what is the reality of the situation, and can I play the truth? Like, you know what I mean? Like if I'm playing the truth, then like it's not always gonna be happy, and it's not always gonna be sad, and it's not always gonna be perfect, or like swaggy, you know what I mean? Like no one's on 100% of the time. And I think this season we will see that sometimes like Will, it like has to be okay that he's not in West Philly anymore. Like, you know what I mean? And like, who is he outside of that? Right. So we'll see that this season.
part of the growth of Will is him becoming older, taking more control of his destiny and his
Yeah.
life, but he's still a child. And even though he is now in a place where he has access to a lot of privilege, it's not really helping to develop his maturity. You know, that's
Mhm.
gained through life experience.
Right.
Will the growth of maturity be as vast as his being put into this family of immense wealth? Will that journey be as
Yeah.
great as it was in season 1?
That's a great question. Yeah, for sure. I think we will see Will. Like, I feel like Will sometimes can have a destructive nature to him as a person. But this season we will see how he is truly becoming the glue for a lot of people in his life, and not leaning on someone to tell him that he's great, right? Like actually knowing it within himself and finding his greatness and putting on his crown, and all of these themes. We will see that this season. Yeah.
Mhm. Speaking to Olly earlier, you know, the relationship between Will and Carlton is always going to be a special one, a special connection. And I asked him about the things he experiences in season 2. Does it affect the people around him more or make them better? Or who does it have the greatest impact, himself or the people around them and what they've learned about life? How will Will grow just being able to support Carlton and what happens to him in season 2? How does it transform him into a more realized person?
Right. I mean, Will, like in this season, Uncle Phil gives a responsibility to Will to like make sure that Carlton is okay. Like that is like one of Will's like biggest jobs this season, is to make sure that Carlton doesn't revert back to his old ways, right? Because like I think Will knows the most about what Carlton has been doing. And so he has a responsibility to kind of be that older figure to Carlton, and to make sure that he keeps his head on straight. And Will takes that very seriously because he loves his cousin, and Will has a huge heart. And we will see how that dynamic unfolds throughout the season, when things aren't always great between them, right? And so how does that dynamic shift between like being a guardian for someone that you're not in the best, you're like you're not, you don't have the best relationship with in that moment. So yeah, it's a constant push and pull, you know.
That's what we love. That's what we love. Well, I thank you. They're wrapping me up. Have a wonderful season. There's going to be some wonderful conversations that come out of this season. Glasses are now back off. Clark Kent, Superman.
Glasses are off. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a
Take
good one.
care. You too.
I love your sweater.
Thank you. I like your jacket.
It looks ribbed. Is it
Yes,
ribbed?
it is, because I'm cold. It's freezing up in here.
Where are you?
LA.
You're in LA? Oh yeah, it is cold in LA. It is cold outside.
Yeah, we don't want this weather no more, but have a wonderful season. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for your time. But yeah, I'm super nosy. I'm like, ooh, what did you just find out? Because your face was
right? Drama.
Well, I thank you guys for this time. And it's awesome to see the show come back for season 2 after such a big season 1. People got to connect with the characters, younger generation, my generation, to see all these people reimagined in a different way. So Simone, beginning with you, for Lisa, what would you say was her biggest obstacle of the first season that will take us into season 2 and build upon that story?
Ooh, great question. I think Lisa's biggest hurdle is navigation itself. And I think that's being young, Black, gorgeous, and like navigating through spaces that you don't normally do, whether it's like Bel-Air, which is like a mostly white place. Not mostly white, but I mean like mostly white, like
I mean,
No, it is.
you're not wrong.
Bel-Air in general. It is.
True. That, love and loss for the first time, her and her dad's relationship, her and her friends, because as we see throughout the show and in real life, our relationships evolve and adjust. And so a drama aside, that enough is a lot. So I would say navigation.
Mm-hmm. For you, Jordan, I think when I think of your two characters, I feel like they're almost tasked with the most, choreography, in the sense that they have to interact with people in a completely different way. Because the core characters, they're a family, and their siblings, their cousins, and families communicate in a way that friends do not. So with Jazz, how would you say Jazz's ability to connect with the family is going to be different in season 2 compared to season 1?
Well, I mean, as you've seen from the first 3 episodes, you saw 3 or 4? 4 episodes, 3. Okay. But in the first 3 episodes, you'll see that obviously in the first season, we obviously you see me and Hillary kind of getting close. But after the first episode, you'll see that we actually become together. So that kind of changes the family dynamic. I'm not going to tell you what Uncle Phil or Aunt Viv think about me dating Hillary. But those are, similar changes. But with me and Will, when it comes to the family, they still root for that relationship. But yeah, I think those would be the changes in me navigating through my relationship, trying to figure out how a guy who is from, South Central, is a hustler. He owns his own record shop and stuff like that, but still isn't on the level as the Banks family. So there'll be a lot of like internal thoughts. Some, maybe some people love me, maybe some people don't, but you have to wait and see.
Simone, what do you think that Lisa brings to her friend group? How does she make them better? Because she has a sort of sensibility and sensitivity and able to get different things out of them compared to some of their other friend groups. So what do you think is that essence that she brings that makes them better for,
Yes, I would say honesty and reason. Because all of the boys are very reactive. We have Carlton, he's really, he's getting his substance abuse under control, and he's very sensitive, and so he's very reactive. Will is just very reactive because how he grew up and all the stuff that's happening to him. And so I feel like Lisa's very eye of the storm, and she's like the balance, I guess. So yeah, honesty and voice of reason. She's really going to tell it like it is, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you both are we need a Jazz and a Lisa for sure in our lives. Jordan, over for you. What would you say was the biggest transformation of Jazz from where we meet him in season 1 and learn about him and ownership and being connected with the family? How will he evolve in season 2, just in a maturity sense, with his relationship with Hillary, like just the emotional journey that he's on for the season?
Well, honestly, I don't want to give any spoilers because that was a great question. But definitely he has some soul searching to do throughout this season when it comes to how he actually is, how when he's around certain people, maybe they make him feel a certain way. Maybe he's trying to do something, too much to impress people. I think the difference between season 1 and season 2, to try to answer your question without giving any spoilers, season 1, I was the smooth, kind of everyone kind of had a conflict. Jazz didn't have a conflict. I was like the voice of reason to help people. I will say that in season 2, definitely you'll see some more conflicts within my storyline.
And lastly, so if you could swap with Jordan and be Jazz, what do you like about the way he portrays Jazz? And then Jordan, I will ask you about her portrayal of Lisa. So you swapping characters, what are the best things about each of you's characters or portrayals of them?
Oh my gosh, Jazz gets to go be with the street boys. He really gets to like, he's vibing with his shirt off. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very fun and sexy when Lisa's like really going through it. So I feel like I would love to have some like fun, chill, like
Ain't no fun, you in school.
I'm in school.
Ain't
I'm
no
fighting
fun.
for the people. And he's over here vibing.
Okay.
I would like to vibe. So that's what I would say. Vibing and also like time with some Coco Jones.
Period.
I
Okay.
think Lisa.
And,
Oh, sorry.
no, and you.
Thank you. I think what I love mostly about Lisa is that Lisa is strong. Obviously, she's competitive. But when it comes to Will or Carlton or even Drew, she carries herself correctly within all three relationships. She's very helpful to all of them. When things don't go right, she's not sitting there like, oh, please, please, please. She's more like, okay, look, if this is what you want, we can do that. You know what I'm saying? And, usually the guys always come back when you just, keep it player. And so she's definitely one who keeps it player on, and you'll see that more throughout the season, for real.
Player in the best ways possible. Thank you guys. I have really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see the conversations that are going to come out this season. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I appreciate it. Congrats on season 2.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It's exciting when a show moves past that introductory phase of season 1 into season 2, and now we get to put the hourglass in closer and really examine these people that we've connected to and started to learn things about. So, Olly, beginning with you, for Carlton, we saw Carlton overcome some things in season 1 that will continue into season 2 that will affect him, obviously, but also affect the people around him as they have to interact with him through these troubles. Who do you think will benefit the most from Carlton's discovery? The people around him or him himself? Because they're very different experiences.
Wow, that is a beautiful question. I think that, Carlton's journey is one that he has to go through on his own and has to go through for himself. But I do think that his journey teaches everyone around him about compassion and empathy. I know Carlton's journey reflects on Will. It, in a lot of ways, reflects on Phil and Viv and how they have brought him up and how they have interacted with him. But that's a beautiful question. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just blown away. I love that question because I also think that it reminds me of why we do the show and what is so great about the show, right? It not only reflects life, but it aims to sort of challenge the ideals that we have in society. And I think that Carlton's story specifically speaks to mental health in the Black community and mental health in, the mental health dynamic in Black families and how we as a community can come together to uplift each other. And so I just think that it's such an important and beautiful story that we're telling.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I related the journey of Carlton to people in my own family and just finding the comfort to have those conversations within a Black family, and particularly with patriarchy and our parents and letting us live those things. So with Adrian, for you,
Sorry, you cut out after particularly.
Oh, for our those conversations in particular in the Black family, in addition to how our parents, our patriarchy, our leaders in our households have to allow us to go through those journeys. So over Adrian to Uncle Phil is now watching the people in his house, the children in his household grow up, learn how to do things on their own, but he still has to lead and parent and navigate with that. So how will he walk that line between letting his children grow, but still guide them because they're getting older and it's harder to control, especially children of privilege?
Great question. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. You try to find that balance where you're being supportive, but you're not, being overly controlling, and you're giving them that space for them to figure out things for themselves. And with Carlton, I think Carlton is as a reflection of Phil to a certain extent. It's his son, and he has certain expectations for him, and dealing with his mental health and issues. He's really trying to find solutions and help him to navigate through this, but he doesn't want to overly control him. Him and Viv have decided to allow him to work things out a little bit on his own way, but that we're there for you when you need us. We are there. And so that's like any parent, you have to really find that balance, but listen, allow them. You want your kids to be vulnerable, allow them to feel that they can be transparent and honest with you, and just create that space. And I think that they do a good job of doing that, the two of them.
I like how you said that about parenting and expectations and things. And so that brings me over to Geoffrey, and how when you live within a family and you are of the elders of the family, you have expectations for the younger people in the family. In Geoffrey's case, he kind of doesn't have that same level of leading like the parents do, but he is an authority figure, and he knows a lot of things about the family. So what do you think for Geoffrey, what is the gift and the curse of knowing too much about a family, but not having the authority, I guess you can say, to really help them right the path? You can support, but you can't really say you should be doing this.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it is a gift and a curse, but I think, Geoffrey leans into the place of love. And so the fact that he knows some things that maybe Aunt Viv and Phil doesn't know, but he's able to be there to guide. He's just got that contradiction. It's that gentle, firm grip of like, I'm going to let you do your thing. I'm going to let you kids grow and make mistakes and whatnot, but I will step in. And I think Geoffrey's a man that he's prepared to hold some secrets, and not tell the parents. But when it goes beyond that line, he's a parent himself. He knows the difference between right and wrong, and he will speak up. We've seen that in season 1, and so I love that he's just like he's like the great uncle, right? That can turn up, be the good guy, and then leave. But when things get too crazy, he's like, "Yo, Phil, Viv, you need to talk to Carla. He's doing some stuff, or you need to talk to Ashley and Hillary." And that reminds me of growing up and being an uncle. I've got many nieces and nephews, and I don't have kids yet, and so it's that thing of coming in, I can help, and then actually when I've got to go to work and film, I got to go. And it's so Geoffrey's got the best of both worlds, but it's all coming from a place of love, protection, and bringing it back to the end of season 1. Everything he did came from the place of love and protection, and also from a place of his own situation, what he was going through.
I know one thing: if I get in trouble, I'm calling Geoffrey, because it's giving Ray Donovan kind of vibes. I'm
Everybody
calling
needs
Geoffrey.
a G in their household.
You ain't never lied about that. Well, thank you
you
guys. They are giving me the hug. Have a wonderful season. Congratulations on season 2.
Thank you.
And
Thank
there's going to
you
be
so
some
much.
great conversations. Thank you.
See you guys again. Thank you for supporting us.
Yes.
No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you, Morgan, for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
It is exciting times to be back for season 2. Season 1 exploded with a bang, cultivated a new fan base who are coming to the Bel-Air property. And now in season 2, we get to dive in deeper with our characters and learn more nuanced things about them. So going into the second season, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you learned about cultivating these characters and connecting them with the audience as a whole that you'll carry into season 2?
Absolutely. I think it's just a commitment to honesty, in the way that we're telling these stories, and really leaning into our experiences, the experiences of folks in the writer's room, and bringing them into these characters and these stories. And so I think when you lead, from, telling these stories from a place of truth and a place of authenticity, you can really feel it in the material when it hits the screen. So.
hmm With what's always been intriguing about the core characters with Ashley and Hillary and Will and all of them, Carlton, growing up in a place of privilege doesn't always equate them with the tools to advocate for themselves, to learn things on a faster track despite the access that they have to things. Will that be an area that's examined during the course of the season, how they learn how to advocate for themselves, their goals, ambitions, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a through line throughout the entire show is advocating, for yourself, and especially as Black people in this country, it's incredibly important to do that, and especially in spaces, where you're the one of few Black people in a space, or maybe the only Black person in the space, including Carlton. Specifically. Comes to mind as somebody who's grown up in this Bel-Air bubble, and all of a sudden, his cousin Will, came in from West Philly and really popped that bubble in a lot of ways, and kind of put a mirror up on Carlton's life and some of his shortcomings and his insecurities. And so Carlton in season 2, it's going to be a deeper exploration as he learns to advocate for himself, and he learns to, in a way, discover his own identity, as a Black man in this country, as a Black man in Bel-Air, and being more unapologetic about that.
Mhm. With the show, with that holding up the mirror, the show does a great job of walking that line with, modern topics, but still holding true to the essence of what we've come to to love about these characters. What is the fine line, do you think, between maintaining that integrity of the original characters, but to still give them the space to grow and make it new and make it modern and fresh?
That's such a good question. Since day one, even back, when I was making the short film, it was really important to me to, not watch The Fresh Prince, and just because we all know that show, we grew up with the show. And so the essence of these characters is kind of embedded in all of us, especially in our culture. And so it's important to retain the spirit of the character because we all know them, but let's think of them as, Viv, version 3, right? Where, her character has her own, forward-facing desires that stand on their own. And that really helps to not be in any sort of way tied to, the original series in terms of how those characters, behaved and the things that they wanted on screen. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that, when you can free yourself from, because you can't do what they did. It's like, that was a once in a generation moment when The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air came out, and we always pay homage and respect to it. But at the same time, the goal of the show is always to create something that ultimately stood on its own. And the same thing with each of these characters in their journeys that we see in Bel-Air.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think had the biggest emotional journey in season 1?
Oh man, there's so many journeys that really speak to me. I'd say Carlton. And I think reason being is, with us telling the story in season 1 a lot through Will's perspective, in a lot of ways, Carlton is his counterpart, right? They're both the same age. And so you're able to see the juxtaposition between the two and how it really affects Carlton, who was very comfortable in the Bel-Air bubble. And all of a sudden his cousin comes in and busts that bubble. And so, Carlton went on a roller coaster ride in season 1, and I can't wait for people to see his journey in season 2.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, what always is exciting to me is there's always a little bit of doom, maybe a little bit of foreboding coming that's kind of hanging over. Is that a theme? No spoiler, of course. Is that a theme? A little bit of.
Well, I will say this, it definitely goes down in season 2. We're so excited about where we landed. We actually just wrapped production last night, and we couldn't be more proud of the journey of each character this season. And there will definitely be fireworks, but at the same time, it's really important for us to exhibit Black joy on screen, and not tell stories that is just inundated with trauma and negativity. It's like in life there's conflict, and so it's important for us to portray that on screen, but at the same time and balance it with joy and the love of a family and the joy that they have towards each other. So
that's awesome. Well, I thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful season. Welcome back. And some great conversations are going to come out. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, Carla, for your time. I appreciate it. Congratulations on season 2.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Happy to be here with you.
Oh, likewise. You know, it's exciting when a show gets to move into season 2 and you spend time establishing a relationship with all of them in season 1. And now we get to kind of pull the focus in closer and really get to know the layers of these people that we were reintroduced to in season 1. So with making the series its own thing, as it broadens, it becomes its more and more so into its own identity. How does that change the creative choices you allow the actors to do? Because there's the balance of keeping true to the core characters, but allowing the exploration to make them new, fully realized people. So how does that dance work for you guys?
Yeah, it's a balance, right? Of everybody sort of wanting to feel like, oh, these are characters that I know and love and grew up with, but also they're new and fresh and different and now and exciting. So I definitely think, like you said, season 1 was so much about reintroducing them and saying, this is what they look like now. And season 2 really giving the cast the freedom to say, this is yes, like you shake it off a little bit, and because we're going to tell the story of who Aunt Viv is now, and who Uncle Phil is now, and who Will is now, and Carlton, and not just individually, but just their relationships to each other are different and deeper. And so I think that everybody sort of feels the freedom to make it their own, because we're telling stories that are different. They're not the same stories. So I definitely feel like people are wearing these characters different, you know, and I love just seeing what they bring to the material, how they elevated the stories, and even just having the conversations with them personally, like, who do you think this character is? What do you think their headspace? Where do you want them to go? What are things that excite you? So that we're bringing something fresh, that they have the freedom to make it their own.
Mm-hmm. And with an ensemble cast of this size, it could be really easy to get kind of lost on who's going through what, but every character's journey is very memorable and they're experiencing some really, really specific things in their life. Looking back at season 1, who do you think had the greatest emotional journey? And is there, without saying who it is there a singular character in season 2 who you think has a very strong transformational moment or anything like that throughout the season?
Yeah, I think season 1 definitely Will being the focus, and him being the one that was being brought into this family, the new element that was shaking things up. His journey, season 1, was key, and everybody in the family sort of surrounded him in that journey. And season 2, very much so Will, and what's he going to do now that he's here, and this kid who's a little more guarded, not that season 1 kid, but a little more guarded with his heart, not as trusting as he was in season 1. So I definitely think that journey and who he is going to become this season is going to be very interesting. And there's another character, without saying who, that is going to be very transformative and I think interesting to watch the journey from the beginning to the end in a way that we're like clutching our hearts, sweating in our palms, hoping for the best, fearing for the worst. And I think a lot of characters, honestly, are going to go through that journey this season. That should feel like a continuation from season 1, but in a way that feels a little more unexpected in season 2.
Mm-hmm. Speaking with Morgan before you, he mentioned that even with all these experiences, we still want to depict a family that has Black joy, that has a lot of love between them. And is joy an overreaching theme? Is it sadness? Is it growth? Are they coexisting? Like, what do you think are the emotional the intersections for these folks this season?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like it's a combination of all those things. Like we want to keep it like the tone is grounded, but obviously very emotional in many places, but not wanting it to feel dark and heavy and like and sad, like that's all they experience. And it is a drama, so there's a lot of drama involved, but really wanting to make sure that we have the love, that we experience the love of this family. And families fight, families argue, they don't get along, but at the end of the day, they've got each other's backs, and they're a family. And I think that's what I responded to. I think so many people responded to from that Legacy series was just the love of this family, and just feeling the warmth and the realness of them. So I definitely think keeping it grounded in real issues, and we talk about serious subject matter, but really wanting to feel just the joy of how they live and how they support each other and the things that they do and the clothes that they wear and what they laugh about. Just wanting to fulfill all of that.
Indeed. Well, I thank you so much for your time. I'll have Jamie cut this part out. I love Carlton's black sheep sweater. It's like the dopest piece of clothing in the whole season.
Episode 3, Black Sheep.
I need that sweater. But thank you so much again for your time. Have a great season.
All right, thank you. Nice to meet you.
You too. Take care. Thank you, ladies. A pleasure. Very excited to be with you. Congratulations on season 2. You know, Bel-Air has really, it's its own thing. You know, it has the roots in Fresh Prince, but it really, really is its own thing. And it's growing these beautiful branches with all these amazing stories that we get to learn more about each of your characters individually. Coco, beginning with you, with Hillary, what I like is that what I think about often is, although one might have access to a lot of privilege, it doesn't necessarily equip you with the ability to advocate for yourself. All of those things are still really learned experiences. Mm-hmm. So how will Hillary's knowledge of self deepen this season in a way that she learns to advocate for herself better?
That's a great question. Hillary in season 2, I think she has a strife with dealing with this power struggle of her and Ivy. And they're 2 women of color who kind of have these egos driving their desire to be the head honcho, you know? And I think it kind of reminds me of the plight of women of color in this world, feeling like there's only such a limited amount of opportunities and you can't even see past the common of us because we're so busy focused on who's qualified, who's better for this small limited amount of opportunities. And I think Hillary learns in herself how to be honest with herself and, you know, stick up for what she believes in. But I think it also is just very representative of what we kind of go through in this world of feeling like women are competition, when honestly, if we look at it from an abundance mindset, we could have so many more friends that are actually like, you know, common and similar to us and who can help us push past those doors that are unfairly closed. I also think she learns about being vulnerable because she is very much a boss. She has kind of like a tough skin because she deals with so much rejection, trying to get into this cooking world as an influencer. And I think when she falls in love with Jazz, she gets to like let her guard down and kind of feel safe and cherished in a way that I think teaches her a lot about who she is and what she wants. And then, of course, there's another crazy part of her storyline that really teaches her what she wants.
With all of you, a common thread is taking up space in places that they don't want Black women to take up space, or young Black ladies. Akira, over to you for Ashley. Ashley has always been someone who seemed to have tremendous knowledge of self, even at a young age. And sometimes that can be challenged. And when you're that young, advocating for yourself is not really something you consider or even understand what it is, but she does. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is Ashley's best quality in that she knows how to, why do you think she's so in tune with herself, and how does that continue in season 2 for her?
I think she's so in tune with herself because of how much she understands the outside world. I think she she really puts others before she puts herself, before she focuses on herself. And that's the quality that I really love about her, is how selfless she is and how wise she is and how she really can take advice from anyone.
Mhm. Over to you, Cassandra, for Vivian. Vivian is stepping into her own. You know, many years she's been the rock, the support, the mom, the wife, the aunt, and like Ashley, put others forth. But now it's time for her to do for herself. Is that an uncomfortable journey, do you think, for Vivian, or is it something she can slip into with ease?
First of all, you look beautiful this morning. Okay.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
Second of all, I think anyone who's been nurturing for a long time, it's always a bit uncomfortable to get in this place of being self-actualized, to actually become the thing that you wanted to be when you were in your 20s. So I don't think that's comfortable at all. It's almost like having to stand naked in front of people and say, this is who I really am, because she's been standing behind her husband, behind her kids, and now she's got to move them all away and say, this is me. And you see that in more ways than one, and how that relates to her artwork and even her work relationship with Janice throughout the season. So, oh, no, it is very complicated.
Akira, back to you. What do you think, what is something you learned in season 1 just as a performer that's helping you into season 2? Just personally helped you?
I think, I mean, I'm still learning. You know, I think I pretty much learned something from everybody. Cassie, I watch Cassie on screen. She's just so amazing. I learned from her. Doing interviews with her, I just pretty much learned from everybody.
It's a big task when you step into a franchise like this that's so beloved and making it its own. Coco, over to you for Hillary. I love the evolution of who she is and, you know, what she's going to become. What is lessons that you learned from season 1 that you've brought over into season 2 that you think will make you better?
I think for me, balance has been what I've been learning, and I'm still trying to figure out. Season 1, I think I hadn't had a TV show experience of being like a series regular before, and so everything felt so like new. I would always be like, okay, thank you guys so much, forgetting that I'm a series regular on the show and I will be back again at 5 a.m. So learning balance between personally my music goals and my acting career that has now changed completely because I have this role and I have this amount of work to be doing consistently for, you know, half the year. It was figuring out that balance, and more now with season 2, I think it's me getting more centered in myself. And I think in season 1, last year, I felt like I had to say yes to a lot of things just because everything was so new and I didn't want to lose anything. But this year, I'm more of like, okay, I want to work smarter, not harder. And I want to be able to give quality to everything that I do without having any type of fear mindset behind my yeses and my nos. Still figuring that out.
Absolutely. Lessons that we all need. Balance is key. It can be attained. Thank you, ladies. They are giving me the hook. Have an amazing season. Great stories. I've seen the whole season already. It's very good. Thank you so much.
God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.